hear from you now, sir. Dr.
Thank you.
Shafiul.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I'd like to thank you once again, Dr. Smriti, and also our session chair, my very favorite teacher, my very favorite role model in the field of communication and journalism, especially development communication, Professor Biplab Chaudhary, and Honorable Vice Chancellor Ji. And I also am seeing a number of scholars here, midday scholars, and I would like to thank and record my deepest gratitude and thanks to invite me in this platform. Actually, I'm listening with patience greatly that, and as the last speaker, probably, I think that most of the things have been covered by this time. That's why while I was listening to all the prudent speeches by our very much veteran and expert gurus or mentors of India and other countries, other parts and provinces, I have revised it into a very simple slide. So that's why I'd like to request all my respected mentors and who presents here to listen to me for that. I would just revised just now while I was listening to all the informative and very much analytical and enriched speeches of the scholars. So just 30 seconds, if you kindly allow me, opening a PowerPoint that just I prepared, because I think that most of the points have been covered by all the eminent speakers. That's why. So is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Just for the convenience of speaking, just I'm using this slide because I have to change my presentation because most of the things have been, again, I am uttering that already covered. But all these things are very simple that would instigate for further discussion, further work in the field of narratives and public opinion. Especially, I do very much agree with my very much respected mentor, Professor Dr. Biplab Chaudhary, that the topic should be somehow revised, and I have done it accordingly, that the role of media in shaping narratives and public opinion. We know that actually media portray, there is an age-old debate over media portray what is happening in the society, or media themselves instigate or create those issues that may attract the attention of the people greatly. Media do it proactively, or media just disseminate what are being reflected in the society. This is a great debate, we know that, but there is no any concrete answer. Rather, it has been argued by the experts of different fields in the areas of human communication, journalism, and media communication that media do the both. Media sometimes portray the issues what are being discussed, analyzed in the society. At the same time, media themselves present issues or generate issues that draw attention of the greater community or the audiences. So, dear distinguished experts here, we know that by this time, as Biplab Chaudhary and some other eminent speakers have pointed out, that by this time, that the media include now print, broadcast, and also the new media, and with all this combined form, the media convergence. So the media is not now in the traditional shape or appearance. Media has been changed. That's why right now, social media, digital media platforms like news portals, and also different types of social media platforms, even Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, many tools of social media are also getting popularity, not as news media, but also media to spread information, especially from individual unit to the wider audiences. This is at the same time point-to-point communication, and at the same time, it's from particular point to disseminating to a wider audiences. So this has been also getting now as the status of the mass media. So I'm going to the next slide. So now there is another proposition here. What is public opinion actually? We know that this is a broader definition that public opinion actually is a collective opinion on a particular or specific topic, like for example, secular government, good governance, social safety and security, communal harmony, for justice, social justice. As we also see it sometimes in India, and also in Bangladesh frequently. For example, now there are also some social movements that are going on in Bangladesh, and even some days ago we also saw that there were some social movements, especially against corruption, curbing corruption, Anna Hazare's movement. We also see that media that has worked on, especially shaping public opinion. Actually, media did it deliberately. Did the media did it deliberately, or what was happening in the society by some of the people that greatly influenced by the media, actually, or presented by the media? So that's why if it is the case, then we have to think differently that the media, whether the media played the role proactively or being influenced to play the particular role. And also, public opinion necessarily doesn't mean that all of the majority people should have similar voice. Nothing else, you know that. Even even an individual's opinion or statement or thoughts or notion can be the public opinion if it reflects the social justice, according to our father of nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, you know. So at the same time, we are seeing also some changing phenomena, especially in the changing pattern of media ownership. Now even the mass people who are mostly out of the mainstream media focus, when the mainstream media are mostly elite centered, run by elite class, run by male dominated class, meaning we know that the mainstream media mostly all over the world have the similar type of appearance, similar type of characteristics. In Bangladesh, even in India and some other states, that we know that the media are mostly dominated by the elite class, powerful class who have power, by the money class who have influence, affluence, by the male, not the female, mostly not female, by the male, because media owned by male. Media is governed mostly from the urban areas, not the from the rural areas. So in this dynamics, we see that in this socio-economic realities, we see that the mass people's voice, especially the voice of the people, was out of the focus of the mainstream media mainly, but in some ways it was focused. But in this time of media convergence, especially triggered by the expansion of media technologies, or by dint of media communication technologies, we see that now even the mass people become the owner of the media. It has created both the opportunities and also the challenges. Let's discuss we later, and by this time some of our prudent speakers have focused on this very particular issue. So own media, even the mass people have voice, mass people can own the media, and also mass people can generate content. This is at the same time challenge, the same time options, opportunities, and also challenges. We can consider both the issues that should be considered later. Then earned media, that goodwill, especially whatever we earn. Earned media meaning we know that media sometimes focus on civil society members, some social activities like, you know, activists like even in India, in Bangladesh, you know that those people earn very good media coverage from their own activities, from their social activities, from their philanthropic activities, and paid media for money, what is possible to avail in exchange of money. So now we should discuss on the role of media, what media actually do. We know that the role of the media has been traditionally categorized as four: to inform, educate, to entertain, and to persuade. But media can do it differently using different type of approaches. For example, edutainment, now it is called that infoedutainment approach. And in a particular democracy or democratic culture, media facilitate good governance, meaning media instigate government to be responsive, to accountable, to transparent, and to very much benevolent, especially through correlating and interpreting things around the society and evoking debates. So media creates opportunities or platforms that evoke the debates. And why do media play a role actually? Media, we know that from the social responsibility, from the normative views of social responsibility, media do this role, and media should do this role, and media is supposed to do this role. And as the fourth pillar, you know that it performs watchdog role, keep eyes on the on the remaining three pillars to perform the effective governance and to present people's voice, molding, shaping, and forming the public opinion, which carries the greater public interests. And media, from the viewpoint of especially the theories of agenda setting, news media represents, news media present those issues from the society, those issues that are created from the society, that are even created from the news media themselves, meaning news media themselves sometimes spread those topics or issues that attract attention to a greater community. For example, you know that in India, we saw that there was a huge repercussion of public opinion, especially in the case of Nirbhaya rape and murder case. And the government was strongly influenced by the people's sentiment, people's opinion that was represented by the media. And from government, very interesting that, you know, that even sometimes government create issues. It's very interesting. Even in Bangladesh, we have some recent examples how government provides issues to the media. Exactly, media plays issues, media investigate issues, media generate issues that correspond to the government. But in Bangladesh, very interesting and a very much paradigm shift that government even create issues for the media. What? PM Hasina's casino expedition. Because you know that this is very much social expedition or very campaign against casino, online gambling. But the government, even the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and took actions against those who are involved in such type of anti-social activities. But even curbing those criminals by the law enforcers, no such report, no such content, no such stories or narratives was presented in the Bangladesh media. But as soon as the government started to curb the culprits, then the media took the issue seriously and contents shadowed the media overwhelming. So this is very interesting. And also from individual to society to media. We know that Anna Hazare's case, that he was a very much influential social activist as per the media reports. And his issue influenced the society, peoples gathered there, and those issues were greatly covered by the news media. So against the corruption, social justice, like these issues. So, but sometimes we see that the media don't play role as a watchdog, rather watchtower, not watchdog, rather watchtower, just from the bird's eye views. Now let's take the case of narrative. So I have only 2 or 3 slides. Within 3 or 4 minutes, I would like to conclude. So narratives, as Professor Biplab Loha Chaudhary mentioned, that there are a number of theories. That's why I'm not going there, because all experts know these theories. But we know that what the narratives and what and how to tell the stories. This is very much important to influence, to shape, to mold the public opinion, and to get attention of the policymakers, to get attention of the greater society, greater audience of the society. We know that narratives actually is a form of communication that greatly was introduced in 1990s. But before this, even from the inception of the human civilization, the narratives were existed in some forms. But even in 1990s decade, we see that there are huge contributions, huge works on narratives, media narratives, content narratives, how to shape the narratives, how to create narratives to influence the public opinion, influence the authorities. So the real authors communicate a story by discourse to real audiences, through implied audiences. Chapman in 1978. But the way we speak and we write is shaped by the power structures. This is the reality. How much I can tell in Bangladesh, how much I can tell in India, how much I am allowed by the powerful classes. by those people having power who don't like what I say? This is actually a real question. But at the same time, the social media, before my speech, some of the experts focused on that the social media is very much chaotic. But even social media is chaotic, there is also a responsibility of the social media that even though I want to speak, though I want to uh, tell my narrative, tell my story as freely, but how much I am permitted. At the same time, the most of the social media users, since the contents are user-generated content, how much they can tell. This is I'm coming to the discussion also. So, but it's very much natural that in all the story formats, we want to touch emotion of the people. Telling the context to the text and context, we have to establish a relationship, an interrelationship between text and context. We have to we have to communicate the discourse of the facts, of the figures, the data, of the information, the happenings, of the actors, of the actions. This type of things we have to take into consideration. Barth's narratives theory, we know that this is, he has mentioned some of the code, coding, for example, Enigma code, science code, symbolic code, cultural code. I'm not telling all this because we know that all this, everybody, most of are here academician and they mostly know this. That's why I'm giving some emphasis on Bangladesh society so that we can better understand actually these things, how are going in Bangladesh. So, but in all the experts, in all the, most of the theories space, we can see that this is a matter of expression of language using code from socioeconomic context, cultural context, and also the story formats. How the actions, how the happenings, characters, settings, all these things are get together, combined together to create a very strong meaning, very influential meaning, very powerful meaning that already exampled by some of the experts from farmers movement in India and some other movements. So in the next slide, actually, what is the argument here? The new media and traditional news media, actually the traditional news media on their own social responsibility instigate and cover public opinions through filtering and gatekeeping mechanism. It's possible for mainstream media. Mainstream media can contribute to presenting voice of a huge audience, but restrictions are generally noticed even in most all the societies. Even in the developed countries, there are covered restrictions. Though overt restrictions and covered restrictions are very much visible in Bangladesh, even in India and some other countries. So we know that even in China, it's very much restricted. Mainstream media can contribute to presenting voice, I already discussed. The social media is a user-generated content producer, mostly focused on individual user. Then it spreads to huge community of mass people. This is now a debate whether the content of social media can contribute to form public opinion. Yes, it can contribute because if it focuses on actually very important issues, significant issues, those issues having impact on the greater welfare of the society or the audiences, that it can easily contribute. Even one single user can contribute, since mass people are the owner, but we have much more expectations. At the same time, we have much concerns or issues there. Role of media in convergence. Traditional media are facilitated by new media to understand the reactions and emotions of the people on an issue and put to the same in their content and to create narratives, to shape narratives. So how mainstream media access to the reactions and also the emotions of the individual social media users and frame their stories in their content so that it can have a very strong impact on the society in shaping public opinion towards a particular issue. For example, secularism, secular government system, secular cultural system. Even in Bangladesh, we are fighting this. Still, there are some media, and there are a significant number of social media users are actually doing this purposively. That they have no, actually, they are out of the secularistic point of view because they have actually are from deviated from such type of notions, and there are certainly there are political and ideological biases and balances here. Social media users share the mainstream media content and thus a synergy effect is created. But again, I'm agreeing with my previous speakers that social media has no gatekeeping or editing mechanism or professionalism. So what are the challenges then? The mainstream media is heavily shadowed, pressured by the government, pressure groups, and vested interest quarters that influence shaping narratives independently. Actually, ideological and political affiliation of the media houses is a great challenge and barrier in Bangladesh. And mostly the news organizations and houses having political affiliation to a particular political group or ideology, not only political parties, even ideology. What type of ideology? For example, fundamentalism, religious fundamentalism, radicalism. So they are try to tactically try to advocate for this type of negative presentation and reactive presentation. Repressive laws and regulations is very much common, even in Bangladesh. Very strict laws that govern digital domain where the journalists can work. Core media governance system is very common practice. We know that we shouldn't explain. The social media have no professionals that I have already discussed. Editorial policy and gatekeeping mechanism. Many a times spread fabricated narratives to break status. Agenda setting is absent in the social media mostly, but agenda setting can be a common practice of the mainstream media. But at the same time, it is also a reality that pressure groups, power groups, elite groups, ruling elites, ruling powers have much more control and dominance on the mainstream media, meaning traditional mainstream media. Agenda setting is absent, but lack of media literacy, false and purposive narratives. Actually, it's very much true for the social media users. So if the social media users can be educated properly, especially on content creation, production, and dissemination, then a good result can be expected. Restricted social, cultural, and authoritative structure that limit shaping narratives really in line with people's expectations. Because restrictions or restrictive society and laws of power structure for social structures even or a particular class of people having a different political or ideology or religious ideology, they don't like. They don't like the contents or narratives that affect them, that do not comply with their belief or political affiliation. So what may be the options? Again, I'm also telling that all the merits and demerits, the rise of own media platforms. It is a great hope for us even having number of bottlenecks, barriers. How? But needs the techniques of telling stories, sensible and quality contents. We have to increase media literacy. We have to train them. We have to create
Professor,
a very quality.
Professor,
Yes, 1 minute only.
yes,
1
yes,
minute.
yes.
Yeah. So here I'm putting an example that how the narratives can be presented even in a very much restrictive society, very much restricted on an authoritative power structure. I can give an example from the when Bangladesh was ruled by the Pakistani rulers that no lathi evening stick charge, but 50 injured. It's a very technical or strategical presentation of a fact. Was a great headline to pinch the Pakistani rulers during the period via English daily. The media literacy I have already told. United efforts to put pressure on abolishment of repressive laws and digitalization and media professional needs to uphold. And that's all from my point of view. And I would like to express my deep gratitude once again to the organizers and to the very, very much veteran, very much expert teachers, my mentors like Professor Biplab Chaudhuri, Uma Shankarji, and also our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir, and Smriti, Professor Smriti, and other. So thank you so much. I'm very much delighted to be with you.